Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about the Mavic Pro and the GoPro Karma. I bought both of those while I was on vacation, but obviously only one made it back home with me. I'll tell you all about it in just a second. Hey YouTube, this is Peck Tech, and the renovations are kind of being finished at my house right now. They're getting the grout laid into the tile, so we had to vacate for a couple of days. So I'm spending the weekend at my dad's house, and I thought I'd shoot a quick video to talk about the comparisons between the GoPro Karma, and the DJI Mavic. Now, as you know, recently we went to the beach for the 4th of July, and I really wanted to bring my drone. I've got an Inspire 1 that you probably saw me unbox last year. Well, the Inspire is a wonderful, wonderful drone, but it's really, really huge. It's incredibly large, and the suitcase for it just wasn't going to fit along with all the other stuff. So I kind of let that go, and I had in the back of my mind, I was like, well, maybe I'll buy one of those smaller drones while I'm there. I was immediately drawn to the GoPro Karma. I love the cool backpack case that it came in. I like the size of it. It was still fairly large, but not quite as big as, not even nearly as big as the Inspire and stuff like that. Also, depending on what package you get, it comes with a really nice GoPro camera that is wonderful and versatile and something I can use off the drone. It also came with a little stick where you could attach the gimbal onto the stick, similar again to the Osmo that I use sometimes when I use the camera from my Inspire. I'll put it on my Osmo, but it all came together. Plus the drone just kind of overall looked really neat. It was a neat looking drone. I liked the whole idea of it. It was real outdoorsy looking. So I thought maybe I'll try that one out. Now I'll admit I went to the store to buy this. I saw the GoPro and I kind of got pulled in to the GoPro thing. So I bought the GoPro, brought it back to the hotel, and we did an unboxing. The GoPro package seemed to be really cool. And I really loved the controller, that it was all one piece. You don't have to add a phone or anything like that. That was all neat. But I immediately noticed reading the instructions that it just didn't have all the really cool, smart, logical things that the DJI ones do. Obstacle avoidance, being able to track subjects and do all these other cool stuff. It just didn't really have any of that. And I could live with that so long as everything else worked okay. So eventually we took the drone out to the beach for a little test flight. And it started off really well. It took off pretty easily. I love the way it takes off and lands. It was really simple, like one touch button. But then a lot of drones do that nowadays. Very soon though, the problems quickly came to a head. And so my biggest issue with this drone is that it had no range. I felt like I was getting 500-600 yards away, and I was losing signal on the controller, and that's not acceptable. I already knew it had less range from the manufacturer's specs, and I was a little disappointed in that, but really, I think it said it would go like 1.5 miles or something like that, and it didn't even come close. In fact, I eventually flew it out over the hotel, and it didn't even make it to the street before it had lost signal and came back on its own, which it did do. That's nice. At this point, I knew for sure I'd made a huge mistake. The fact is, if you're going to haul this drone out into the woods or to a location to shoot, and you can't really have any reach, there's no point. I mean, if I wanted to take it straight up above my head and pan around a little bit, it'd probably work out great. And it could be some kind of manufactured fault. Maybe the drone was faulty or something like that. But just like right out of the box, I was not impressed with the range at all. It was not as advertised, and it was not to my liking. So I went back and I got what I originally came for, which was the DJI Mavic Pro. And of course, the first thing I did was do a quick unboxing video for this, just to kind of show all the stuff that comes in it. Now, before I get into the performance differences, let's talk about the physical differences. One, this is easily maybe 1/4 of the size of even the Karma, okay? When it's folded and put away, especially, it is very, very small. I mean, basically sort of pocket size almost. Really, really small form factor, kind of like an 80s style phone. Hello. But even in the small size, it's got all the same like really smart components, all the logic components that you have come to appreciate in the Inspire, and things, and even better things than the Inspire had, that more in line with what maybe the Phantom 4 has. Now, as advertised, this guy has a range of close to 5 miles, which is easily much, much further than the Karma, even if it worked as advertised. And it has a battery life that'll last it around, it's supposedly around 23 minutes or so, and I think the Karma was like at 18 minutes or so. So, much longer battery life. Does have a gimbaled 3-axis camera that shoots up to 4K, and it looks beautiful. The GoPro Karma had, of course, the GoPro on the front. Yeah, the video from it was outstanding. I had no problems with that. But what this thing can do that thing couldn't do was sort of adjust the exposure, at least as far as I could tell from the brief period of time that I owned it one day. Whereas this, I can sort of adjust the exposure and do different things on the controller as I'm flying. So if I notice that it's a little bright or I need to make an adjustment there, I can make that adjustment. With the GoPro Karma, basically, I think you were limited to just like stopping and starting the recording, which, you know, is okay, but is very minimal. Also, this has obstacle avoidance. If you look at these things that sort of look like headlights on here, these are sensors, and it can sense in a really wide arc all the way around it, and if it starts to fly into an object, it'll stop. It'll fly around it if you choose for it to in the controls. It can go, I think it also can back up and do other things, but it'll use these sensors to determine, you know, if something's in front. It's also got a tiny camera in the bottom and some other sensors that kind of give it an alternate way to determine like what the height is and that sort of thing. The flight range on this was outstanding. Out at the key where there's very little radio signal interference or anything like that, I was able to fly this all the way down to the end of Siesta Key and fly back. Now the price point on this thing with an extra battery, I always get one extra battery at least, was about $100 less than the Karma with the camera and an extra battery. So this was a little bit cheaper than the Karma. A big difference as far as like what you get and stuff though, this did not come with a case. The box that it comes in is adequate to take it around, but it's so small that you could probably come up with a case for this no problem. In fact, I bought one on Prime Day that works really, really great. I'll talk about that in another video, probably on the PecTech Air channel. But the price point for something like this is around $1,000. It's small, but it's not cheap. You can tell by the way, like just holding it in your hand, it's really well made though. It is very sturdy. Very sturdy components. It's got these little propellers that'll flip out. Like you can open it up yourself or just leave them closed, and when you start it up, the centrifugal force will open these up. So that's pretty neat. It's got this dome. If you do fly with a dome on it though, you'll get a small little reflection in the corner. So I thought that I was going to leave this on because while we were at the beach, I didn't want salty air and stuff to get in there, but the video is kind of unusable when that's on there. So if you're shooting something for reference that's not, you know, for a beauty shot, you could probably get away with that. But most of the time, I just take it off. It's really easy to remove. It's a cool, tiny, tiny little camera, but it works really well. I thought it worked really well. In fact, it was kind of indistinguishable from the Inspire. I really couldn't tell the difference. What's funny is even that at a price point of $1,000, the very first thing I did was take off and fly it out over the ocean. This is a level of trust I've come to expect with the DJI products. So if you've never flown a drone before and were thinking about getting into it or something like that, I definitely recommend the DJI products. They're just so smart that unless you're really not paying attention to what you're doing or you try to do something a little reckless, you probably won't wreck it. I've never wrecked my Inspire, and I haven't wrecked this yet, so I need to find some wood to knock on, but it's very easy to fly. I tried the best I could to shoot a few like comparison videos. Of course, I didn't know it would be replacing the GoPro when I bought it. I thought that was going to be the drone, the new drone for me was going to be the GoPro. I did shoot some video that was really similar with this one as the GoPro. The first comparison I'm going to show you is the range. I flew directly over the place we stayed, and you can see at some point the GoPro suddenly goes up and then comes back to home, and then this one I just flew it as far as I could. In fact, it wasn't even out of range when I flew it back. It just started to get a little scary. I couldn't see it anymore, which is, you're not supposed to do that. So I just flew it on back to myself. Like I never got to the point where this flew back because it didn't have a signal. So let me show you that comparison now. Now, as far as video quality in general, the GoPro probably did a little bit better, but like I said, if you can't get to where you need to get to shoot the video, then what's the point in the quality looking better? Who cares, right? So this one definitely wins. I love the smart things that it can do. I love the video quality that it comes out of, and especially love the very, very small form factor of this thing. Even completely open and stuff, it's easy to tote around and just quickly get this thing up in the air. Connecting this thing is seriously no problem. It's got a little tiny controller. Your phone can fit right into the bottom of it. Again, another product I'm going to be talking about later on the PECTEC Air channel will be a little extender that you can put on there so you can use your iPad if you want a little bit bigger screen and maybe a shaded screen. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later. I am completely in love with this drone. It is definitely my favorite drone that I've ever had, and it's great. It is fantastic. So thank you guys for hanging out and talking drones. I'm going to do kind of a super cut of a bunch of the drone footage that I shot down in Sarasota together in a video on PECTEC Air. I'll put a link to that below when it's ready. There's also a link in the description with an affiliate link, so if you're interested in purchasing one of these, you want to check it out on Amazon. But thank you guys for tuning in again. We'll be back Friday with a movie review. We'll be back Sunday with another fish video. And until next time, follow your bliss, take a flight, and I'll see you soon.